I've got a story for you today. It's about a little bear and his name is called Lars. And you can see Lars here. He's sitting on the back of his mum, just like a polar bear does when he's very little. Our story is called Little Polar Bear. He goes on a journey. Come and join me as we read where he goes. Little Polar Bear. It's written by Hans de Beer. And he also did the illustrating. Not only did he write the story, but he drew the pictures as well. It was a big day. It was Lars' first day that he was going on an adventure with his dad. He was going on a hunting trip. Lars was white all over. He was just like his father. In fact, at the North Pole, where Lars lived, everything was white as snow. Lars' father showed him how to do all kinds of things. How to follow tracks, how to swim and how to dive for fish. He talked and talked and Lars listened very carefully. Once his father disappeared underneath the water and stayed there. Lars began to worry. Is he going to come back up again? But his father did pop up and he had a great big fish in his mouth for dinner. When it was time to go to sleep, Lars' father said, "Make a great big pile of snow and that will protect you from the wind. Look what I'm doing. Can you do that too?" So Lars built a big pile of snow and fell asleep. But during the night, when he was asleep, the ice began to crack. The piece where Lars was lying broke. Can you see the crack? When Lars woke up, it was morning time. He looked all around. Where was his dad? He was all alone in the middle of the sea. Oh, it was getting warm and warmer and warmer, and the ice was beginning to melt. Lars' pile of snow was getting smaller and smaller. Soon the waves started to get really big. They almost went over the top of him. He saw a big wooden barrel floating in the water. Luckily, he was able to reach it and climb up on top. Then a storm began to beat. Lars clung onto that little piece of wood as hard as he could, wondering, where is my father gone? After the storm, Lars drifted on the sea for quite a long time, and then at last he saw some land. That looks like home. Oh no, it doesn't. It's not white. What is all that greenery? He slowly slid off the barrel and he landed on the beach. Arrgh! It was hot and yellow on the beach. It burnt Lars's paws. Oh! He ran into the river to cool down, but just as he was about to jump in, up jumped a great big animal. It had a massive big mouth and some teeth, and it said boo. Lars quickly ran and hid. He was frightened. "Oh, I was only joking," said the big, fat, brown animal. "My name's Henry. I'm Henry the hippopotamus. Who are you? And why are you all so white?" Lars didn't know the answer to the last question, but he did say, "Well, everything around me where I come from is white." He told Henry all about his journey in the sea, how he couldn't find his father and he really needed to go back home. "Will you help me, please?" he asked. "I think we need to go and find Marcus the eagle," he said. "I think he'll know how to get you back home. Come with me." So Lars climbed on the back of the Great Big Hippopotamus. He'd found a friend. "The only problem is, I can't swim really good yet," said Lars. "I'm only learning." "No worries, you'll be safe on my back," he said. Lars was amazed at all the things he saw. There was funny things called trees, and he even saw a gecko up in a tree. "What's that?" he would ask. Henry told him all about the animals in the trees. "Trees are fun to climb." "Well, but not if you're a hippopotamus," he said. In one brown stalk there was a funny green animal, and it was poking out his tongue. What's that?" "Oh, that," he said, "that's a chameleon. It's an amazing animal. It can change colour, just like the tree." And then he found a butterfly. So Lars is learning all about the jungle. At the edge of the jungle there was a great mountain. It was a bit cooler here, and Lars felt more comfortable because it was cool. Henry found climbing up the hill really hard. Lars helped him. Come on, you can do it. After a while they got to the top, and they sat down exhausted. "Look what we can see. We can even see the ocean from here. Let's have a rest." As Lars looked out over the land and the sea, he began to feel just a bit more homesick. "Oh, cheer up," said Henry. "You'll be home again in no time at all." The very next day they climbed even higher. Henry had to stop often to catch his breath. It was hard going. But at last he said, "Oh, look, here comes Marcus the eagle. He's a huge big bird," and he swooped down. Lars was a little bit afraid. He'd never seen a bird like that before. "Don't be afraid," said Henry. "Marcus, he might seem a bit gruff, but really he's soft on the inside." Henry said good morning to Marcus and politely explained why they had come to see him. The eagle looked at Lars and then he said, "Well, a polar bear in the tropics. I've never seen such a thing. You are a long way from home, aren't you? I can arrange for you to go back, but we'll need to wait till tomorrow. I'll have Samson come and fetch you from the beach, so be ready." Lars was starting to get excited, going back home to see his dad. The next morning, Henry and Lars met Marcus on the beach, just as was arranged. "Right on time," said Marcus, proudly, as the huge grey whale swam up. Although Henry was happy for Lars, he was also a bit sad. He knew he probably would never see him again. He'd made such a good friend. "Now, just remember, take care of yourself," he said. "Well, thanks for everything you've done for me, Henry," said Lars. He called out and said goodbye as he jumped on the back of the whale. And there he is, the little tiny bear on the back. Soon, Henry was all alone on the beach. He kept watching and watching until the whale disappeared. Can you guess where the whale's going? Samson swam a long way. They were surrounded by ice and snow. "We must be nearly home," said Lars. "Look at all the white." And just as he said that, he called out, Look, there's my father." Lars's father could not believe his eyes. There was Lars riding on the back of a whale. Lars' father was very tired. He had spent days looking for Lars, but he was so tired he didn't sleep. He jumped in and caught a fish, a great big fish, and he gave it to Samson to say thank you for bringing my boy back home. Samson waved as he swam away. "Now," said Lars's father, "we have to go straight home because your mother is very worried." On the way home, Lars rode on the back of his father. Everything was white. He was surrounded by snow and ice. This time, Lars talked and talked and talked to his father, all about his adventures, how he'd seen a turtle, a chameleon, amazing forest. He talked about all the animals he'd met. He talked about all of them. "Oh, did you meet anyone who was white?" asked his father. "Well, let me think. No. Well, I did see a chameleon, but that doesn't really count, does it? He wasn't white." Lars had to laugh by himself. His father didn't understand what a chameleon was. But Lars had had such a great adventure. The end.